Hey, everybody, it's Judy Klock, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Middletown, Virginia, coming to you tonight for a little live demo. Tonight, I'm going to be focusing on one of our retired sets. Well, it's retiring. It's on last chance. The Flowers of Beauty. And I'm going to be pairing it with the Unbounded Love stamp set for the sentiments. Unbounded Love is not on last chance, so that will be around for a while. And in case you're wondering, I do have new glasses on. These are Pear Eyewear. I love them because you can change the front frame. So right now I have on the rainbow paw prints because that got the most votes in my little poll from this afternoon or earlier today. So I have a green frame. I have green and black stripes. They're really fun. So I'm just so excited to have my new glasses. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to switch my screens. There we go. It's very crooked. So we can straighten this out. So if you are watching, go ahead and give me a shout out. Let me know if you are watching it on replay. Go ahead and put hashtag replay and let me know where you are tuning in from. I always love to see where people are located because we crafters are all over the place. All right, so these are the stamp sets we're going to be working with. I'm going to be focusing on Flowers of Beauty. As I said, this one is on last chance. Love this set. The Unbounded Love with all these wonderful sentiments, I think is sticking around. It will not be sticking around as a bundle because there are some dies that go with it that are really pretty. I believe these will be around as like an online item, but the Flowers of Beauty are definitely on last chance. So let's take a look at what we're going to be working on tonight. So I don't really play with these often enough, but these are our note cards and envelopes. These are 5 by 3.5, the folded size. And they are a pack of 20 cards and 20 envelopes for $10. So this is like a really good deal. And it's great for somebody who maybe is just starting out and doesn't really want to invest in a lot of card stock and supplies. This is a great deal. So we're going to show how to do one of these really quick. Then we're going to make a really fun birthday card, really kind of using those flowers and those dies and just kind of die cutting them. And then, adding a little bit of something to the inside. And this is our new strawberry slush. Isn't that such a beautiful color? I love it. And then we're going to make a sympathy card, which I know is, nobody's favorite, but we do need them on occasion. Pardon me. The pollen is really bad down here, so I am dying with my allergies. So I used the new Secret Sea and Cloud cover just to kind of keep it more muted and more, I guess, sedate. We don't want to be all over the top with it. But I did do I used our scoring table to add some embossed lines to kind of give it just a little bit of an elegant look. So let me know what you think about that. All right, let's get started. So my first up is our note card. And this is going to be really a very simple stamping card. We're not going to do a lot to this. So this is perfect for a beginner. We will do a little bit of two-step stamping. But again, this is something any beginner can do. So the Flowers of Beauty has these 2 leaf images. One it looks like it's more a bunch of lines. And this one is a little bit more solid. So we're going to ink up and stamp the lined image first. Okay, let's do that. I'm just going to move that out of the way. I'm just going to kind of stamp that. Make sure I get it on my card base. All right. So we've got that. And I'm going to peel this off so I could see a little bit better lining it up. Now for the next one, we're going to ink it up. And I'm using the same thing. I'm using Shy Shamrock. But I'm going to stamp off once. So that's going to give me a lighter color. So it's almost going to look like it's 2 different tones or 2 different greens, but it's really the same one. I'm just going to go and stamp that right over that first image. All right, so you kind of get that, that 2-tone look there. Okay, we just used the same ink pad for both. Just put this back on, put this out of the way so I can clean them when we're done. And then I'm going to come in here and I've got the long flowers And we're going to stamp these in Petunia Pop. And I'm just going to go ahead and use these straight up full strength. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of put those right over my leaves. And so now we've got that. Now I took our Memento Tuxedo Black. I can open it. Oh. And I'm just going to stamp a little hello. You could do it in the Petunia Pop if you want. You don't have to do it in the black. I just wanted to add a little different touch. So I just said I'm just going to do this in black. And a very simple little, it doesn't look like it's inked up enough. Always make sure you got enough ink on your stamp. There we go. Hello. Okay, and that is our very first card. Quick, easy, simple, but a fun little card just to drop a note in the mail, because who doesn't like to get something in the mail besides bills? I know I sure do like to get something besides bills, but don't forget, I always forget, but I'm going to tell you, don't forget, let's jazz up our envelopes too. So again, I'm going to take our stamps, our leaf stamp. I'm going to ink up about half of the lined one. And I'm just going to kind of stamp that right there. Okay, I'm going to come in with the fuller leaf. Again, I'm going to stamp off. Okay, I'm going to try to line this up as best as I can. Okay, there we go. We got our leaves, and let's add those Petunia Pop flowers. All right, they're going to be using that one again on our very next card. Okay, and this one, just going to go ahead and again, just kind of use a little bit of the flowers. And there you've got your card and your matching envelope. So easy peasy, great, easy two-step stamping. Any beginner can do this. Okay, and again, these cards and envelopes, a great deal. 20 cards, 20 envelopes for $10. And right now, today and tomorrow is free shipping. So don't wait. Go ahead and get your order in today. I'll put a link down below in the description if you want to shop. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator and to help you get all your supplies to get your craft on. All right, we're going to switch it up. We're going to get a little bit more involved. We're going to do some two-step stamping and some die cutting. We're just going to make a fun birthday card. Okay, and again, I like this because you don't really need a lot of inks to get that two-tone look. So I've kind of done a little bit here. I've done some preliminary work. All right, so I've got a piece of our strawberry slush. It's our standard 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4 1/4. I've got a piece of our basic white that's 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside. I've got a scrap of basic white here for some of our die cutting. Then I've got 3 pieces of the Unbounded Beauty DSP. These are 1 5/8 of an inch by 4 inches. Okay. Now you'll notice I did cut these from one solid piece. So I'm going to kind of try to keep them in order. So this will be my bottom, my middle, and my top, because then that will kind of allow the design to flow smoothly. So let's go ahead. Let's stamp on the inside of our card. We want to stamp. We're going to do all of our stamping first. All right, we're going to stamp may all your wishes come true on the inside. I feel like I've gotten stuff on my cardstock. And then I'm going to stamp our big, this again, our big flower. There's the outline. It's just got the line images. I'm going to stamp that in full strength strawberry slush. I'm going to come in here with the fill-in, what I call the fill-in stamp. And I am going to stamp this in Stamped Off strawberry slush. Again, just kind of line that up. And I love how you can get that two-tone look with just one ink pad. Okay, just doing that stamping off makes such a difference. Let's put this aside for right now. All right, now we want to die cut one of our big flowers. So I'm going to flip that over because that side was a little messy. All right, I'm going to stamp a big flower right there. And again, I'm using full strength on the outline. I'm going to do a stamped off with the fill-in flower. I don't know if that's the formal name, but that's what I call it, because you're going to kind of fill in those outlines. All right, and I'm going to come on here with, again, now we have a smaller flower with an outline. I'm going to put that up here. All right, and then we've got the smaller flower with the fill-in. Now, this always takes me a minute to remember how to line it up. So bear with me as I try to I think this is how it lines up. Let me just make sure. I'm going to pull it down here for a minute. Yep, that's how it lines up. Okay, and then I'm just going to stamp it. Okay, we're going to die cut that. And then I'm going to close this up. Oh, let me stamp one more thing before I close up our strawberry slush. I'm going to stamp our happy birthday. If I can find it. I had everything on blocks. And now, wouldn't you know, that's the one I can't find. Well, it's right here. It's standing right in front of me. I'm like, I'll be a monkey's uncle. I couldn't find it, but we found it. All right, I'm going to stamp happy birthday. All right. Go. And now we're going to close up our strawberry slush. We're going to go back to our Shy Shamrock. Whew, all these names. And again, I have the leaf outline stamp with just like kind of like the lines. I'm going to stamp that in full strength. And I'm going to come in with the fill-in stamp. I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm going to come in and fill in, stamp it right over those lines and fill that in. All right. So I kind of love how that looks. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's do some die cutting. I'm going to bring in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. I'm going to trim this a little bit because I want to make sure it's going to fit on our mini platform. And we don't need all that stuff on there. Okay. Got our plate number one of our clear plates. I'm going to put this like this. Okay. We've got our piece of paper that we want to die cut. Now let's grab our dies. So I need the big flower, the little flower, and the leaf. Now, sometimes these like to slide around. So I highly recommend this 3M Post-it tape for holding your dies in place. It works. It's fabulous. All right, so let me get this one on there. Okay, I'm going to put this down. Then before I put that down, I'm going to get this one on there. Okay. Ooh. Now see, that's moving around. Let me do this again. Let's get that on there. Let's get this one on there. Okay, put that down. All right, I'm going to get one more little piece of tape. And once I get that top layer on, that will also help hold it. And again, this one I just kind of have to play with. The more you do it, the more you kind of see where they're supposed to go to cut. And I might have put this too close. Let me see. Nope, that's not it. I promise you that you'll see it. Like, that's not it. I think that's it. Okay. So we've got those two. Got this one. Okay. There we go. Put our top plate on, and we're going to let it go on through. There we go. All right. Take that down here for a minute. All right. So we got our second set of leaves. Go. We've got our second big flower. And then we've got our little flower. All right. So that's done. That's done. Put that over there. Okay, let me just put my dies back because I don't want to lose them. In case you're wondering, I keep my dies in my case, and I buy these 4x6 magnetic sheets from Amazon, and I put them in my case, and I keep my dies in my case. So everything stays together. Now, of course, this is not going on nicely because I'm trying to talk and fix it, but they'll stay like that for a bit. All right, let's go ahead and put together our card. So we've got our 3 pieces of our designer series paper. I'm going to put the inside in first because that's one less piece floating around on my work table. I'm going to add some Stampin' Seal. We're just going to go ahead and put that right in there. So who would you send a floral card to? A mom, a cousin, an aunt, a sister, a good friend? Let me know in the comments. Who would you send a floral card to? All right, so I'm going to start with my middle piece first. All right, that will help me with the placement of the other 2. I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue because, as you know, that gives you a little bit of extra time to really kind of finagle the piece into place where you want it. With Stampin' Seal, once it's stuck, it's stuck. All right, I'm going to put that there. All right, that looks pretty good. I think it looks straight. I don't know. Sometimes I can't tell if it's straight or not. Now I'm going to put the top piece on. It doesn't matter if you do the top piece next or the bottom piece. It's just, I find it easier to start with the middle piece. It helps me with the placement. But again, that's just me. You know, everybody's got a system that works for them. So use what system works for you. Okay, and then I'm going to go on here with my bottom piece. Sure. Is that right or is that right? That's the right way. Okay. All right, a little bit of glue. Make sure I get those corners. You don't want those corners popping up. All right. There we go. Take that down. And now we've got our cardstock on there. Now we're going to add our happy birthday. I'm going to pop that up on dimensionals. Okay, I'm just going to put like, I don't know, 3 on here. I don't need a whole lot. It's not that big a piece. All right. All right, I'm going to put that, come on, kind of right there. All right. And then I want to put one, I'm going to put the leaves on the back of one flower. Okay, so I'm going to put this, I'm going to put a little Stampin' Seal. Oh, well, my flower fell down, so that's not good. All right, I'm going to put a little Stampin' Seal kind of on the back here. I'm going to stick this flower and leaf right there. And I'm going to put this down here. So I want to make sure that I put a little bit of adhesive on this edge of the flower, on this edge, because that part is going to kind of hang on my happy birthday sentiment. And then I'm going to put Stampin' Dimensionals over here because that's going to be off the flower, off the sentiment. But you want it to be on the same level. So that's why we add the dimensionals on the part that's going to hang off the tag so that they are kind of on the same level. All right, and then I'm going to add another flower and another leaf. So I'm going to kind of put this maybe up here. So I'm going to put a little adhesive towards the top. You can see I had a little boo-boo on the back of that flower, but that's okay. Paper has 2 sides. All right, same thing. We're going to kind of put this up here on dimensionals. All right, now that one's not going to be on the tag, but that's okay. And I like to kind of put a dimensional over where my 2 pieces are joined, just to kind of help hold it together. All right, and maybe one more dimensional here on this leaf. Okay. All right. So we're going to put that kind of up there. Now we've got our other little flowers here. So these are going to go on dimensionals. And we're going to kind of put them, stagger them. So we're going to put like one there, maybe one here, one here, and then maybe we'll put the other one, you know, kind of up there. So I'll put that on dimensionals too. All right, so we're just kind of staggering where we're putting them. All right, put that one up there. So I might move this one over a little bit. Let me see if I can move it. Didn't like it right there with that H. There we go. I like that better. Okay. Now I have here our new, these are the In Color flat pearls. So we're going to use some of these. I'm going to go with the strawberry slush color. And I'm just going to kind of put these, the smallest one, right in the middle of my little flowers. And that is all we're going to do for our floral birthday card. So I kind of like this. The flowers can be very versatile. You know, we can make them depending upon the colors you use and, you know, what you want to do with them. But we've got kind of a fun and colorful birthday card. All right, we got just a little thinking of you card. So there is, got glue everywhere now. So there is our happy birthday card. Okay, now lastly, we're going to make a sympathy card, which I know is really not everybody's favorite, but unfortunately, that is part of life. So I have here a piece of our basic white, our thick basic white, which is actually still on back order. I'm going to flip this over only because I have like a bazillion ink am I thinking? Adhesive messes on there. I can't even think today. So I'm going to bring in my scoring tool because I want to add a little bit of embossing. Now I want the raised edge to be up front. So I'm going to put this here and I'm going to score this at a 1/2 inch from the edge up to that fold line. Of course my thing is jumping the track today. And then I'm going to score it at 3/4 inch. Okay. Ugh, this is just not working today. Why is this happening? Okay. Now, this is going to be a little bit messy because my thing kept jumping. Then I want to score this way. So I'm going to move it this way and I'm going to score it again at 1/2 inch. I hope my stylus stays in my track and at 3/4 of it came out. Shoot, I don't know why it's doing that tonight. All right. Now, ignore the little bit of messes that I have there. So now we've got those kind of fun score lines, those raised grooves. Can you see those? Kind of hard to see. We've got those raised grooves. Now I've already pre-cut with one of those dies, the Secret C. And we're going to do some heat embossing on this. So I've got my embossing powder. I'm going to use white embossing powder. I've got our embossing buddy, right? I'm going to just kind of rub my cardstock with the embossing buddy. And that's to hopefully take away the static so that the embossing powder doesn't stick to the places where you don't want it to stick. I've got my Versamark. I've got my With Sympathy stamp. All right, I'm going to stamp that. I think it's time for a new Versamark stamp. Versamark pad, rather. Okay, I'm going to stamp that, and then I'm going to quickly kind of put my white embossing powder on it. All right. Got to always knock off the extra powder. This little brush comes in very handy. This is the Embossing Editions toolkit. Okay, got that. I'm going to get off that excess white powder. We don't need that. All right, cover that up. Cover this back up. And if you're wondering where I got these from, I got them, I believe I got these at Michael's. All right, I am going to use my reverse tweezers here to help hold my paper because it gets really hot. right, it's going to get a little noisy, and you'll see it when the embossing powder starts to set. It'll get shiny. Okay. Very fun to watch the embossing powder set. Now, I prefer white embossing powder to white craft ink. I just don't get a good stamp with the craft ink. Again, that's just my preference. You may have a different experience with the white craft ink. That's fine. I am just personally not a fan. Right now, I'm going to stamp. I'm going to take our Secret C. I'm going to stamp. I'm going to do the little flowers again. And I am going to clean, because we used the little flowers in our previous card, and we used the strawberry slush. So I want to make sure I clean that. You always want to make sure you clean your stamps in between inks, because you don't want to like cross-contaminate your ink pads and get one color on a different color. So always make sure you clean them really well before you use a new ink. All right, so same thing. I'm going to stamp in full strength Secret C with my outline. And then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm going to, again, figure out where this goes. Sorry. And stamp that down. Okay, not bad, not bad. And then again, we're going to cut this with our die. Let me just close this up. But I do like the Secret C color. I wasn't sure at first. It's hard. It's not really a teal. It's more like a bluish black, if that makes any sense. It's definitely has more of a black undertone to it. But it's very pretty. Okay. All right. Let me play around with this and just make sure. Okay. Can you see? I don't know if you can see how I'm trying to kind of move my die around until I get it in the right spot, which I think that is it. All right. Again, I'm going to take my little tape. I didn't save it for my last time I cut, so I'm just going to cut a new piece. Maybe that's not it. Hang on. I just don't know where the right one is. I think that's it. Okay. Add that. Where's my top one? There we go. And we're going to die cut our last flower. I knew I wanted 3, so I did 2 of them ahead of time just to kind of keep everything moving. All right, so, and there goes. It's like the leaning, like the game Jenga. Right now, the sides of my desk are kind of like a Jenga pile. So, I'll put that right there. All right, we've got our other flowers. I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals, just like I did the other one, because I do love dimensionals. Again, I'm going to use like 3. Okay. You can put wherever you want. I'm going to put this kind of in the corner where our embossed lines crisscross. I'm just going to stick that. Ooh, well, you know what? It helps if you don't stick it upside down. So pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, and now we've got our flowers. So this one, I'm just going to stick flat down to the surface. Okay, so it's going to kind of like come behind there. And then the other 2 will be up on dimensionals. Okay. We're just going to kind of put one there. And then we're going to put the other one on the other side. All right, like right there. And then I took these and I used the cloud cover dots. And I used the middle size just because I thought the card was very basic. So I didn't think a larger, the bigger one would be too overwhelming for this. There's not a lot going on. This is a relatively simple card. Obviously, the die cutting and the heat embossing, kind of takes it out of that beginner realm. But overall, it is relatively simple. So, if you didn't use the die cuts and just did, still like cut a square, like a 1.5 by 2 inch sentiment label, that would a beginner could do that. A beginner could do the die cutting if they have the equipment. It's just a matter of, if somebody's just getting started, they're not going to have all the bells and whistles. So that is our little sympathy card. So very simple, kind of elegant, not a lot to it, but I think it, and then on the inside, plenty of room for you to write, whatever you want to say. Or if you have a stamp that you like, of course, you can always stamp on the inside. So those are my 3 cards for today. I hope that you like them. Let me know which one you like. If there's anything particular that you liked learning about tonight, just go ahead and leave me a little comment. But thanks so much for hanging out with me. I truly appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.